next step is to digitize our illustrations. We are going to use the scanner in this video. So I'm using Canon Scan Light 400. I had the scanner for over good 2 years now and I absolutely love it. The quality is fantastic. I did struggle a little bit before when I had this scanner connected with printer and other things. It was very poor quality. The other option you have, if you don't want to invest in scanner, you could basically take photographs either with your phone or with your camera. I would definitely advise, instead of taking photograph of the whole sheet, to take individual elements photographs. So you're gonna get better resolution, better size, better quality, and just better detail with that. So it's kind of walk around if you haven't got a scanner. So let's get to it. I use my little software here that came with a scanner. And in the settings, I set up the photo scan to be color, image, where it lands, and high quality. Also, important part is a resolution. So I chose 600. I could have gone for 300, but because I'm scanning the whole sheet and little elements, I thought that's going to be better for me. Now I have my paper inside the scanner. I'm just going to hit photo here and the scanner will start working. I opened Photoshop and brought this image into Photoshop. We're just going to image rotation counterclockwise to get it into right orientation. And at this point, I can see that my scan is looking a little washed out. That's the problem with scanning watercolors. You have to adjust them a little bit. So I would go to Image, Adjustment, Levels. And here you have a sliders on the left. I'm going to pull it in and then we'll just give a little bit more punch. If you go too far, it's just going to go all black. So you have to find a sweet medium spot, not too far, so it still has this delicate watercolor properties. The middle one is more to the shadows. And this one is the highlights, the light bits. So you want to keep that one as it is and just push this one on the left. And okay. And now the other adjustment you can do is Image Adjustment Curves. And here again, you can give a little bit of punch, just a tiny bit, and pull it down here. And okay, so I'm happy with this, how that looks. You can also play with hue saturation, but I'm pretty okay. I'll just show you in case you want to. So image adjustment, hue saturation. So if you want this to be less saturated or more, you can, obviously I'm exaggerating here, you can do, or in completely different hue, a bit cosmic colors. The other thing you can do is image adjustment and color balance. And here, if the image, let's say, scanned very cold, then you can bring it into warm side. And if it's scanned too green, you can turn it again. So, you know, you can play with those as well. That actually looks pretty good. Okay, I do like images on the kind of warmer side, so that's working fine and okay. And at this point, we're going to have to each element to create on a separate layer and save up on these separate space and just separate it from that white background. Let me show you how I do it. So all of those elements get nicely, neatly put together, because it can be quite chaos if you have too many layers, too much going on. I'll show you my technique. I know it sounds a little bit like an overkill to create a 4000 by 4000, but hear me out and see what I mean. So we're going to go with new document and the size will be 4000 by 4000 at 300 resolution, and we're going to stay with RGB color because we want this to end up in Spoonflower. Now we create another layer here and we're going to fill it up with some sort of color. It doesn't really matter, whatever doesn't hurt your eyes. And another empty layer. So we're going to grab a lasso tool and let's take that tomato first of all. So roughly just outlining that using my move tool and dragging it into this space. Now you can do select subject. I always have this little bar on the bottom here, but if you cannot see that, if you go to select and subject, and that's the same job. So I'm just going to do that. Press this button. Don't worry if it hasn't selected perfectly. Now we're going to press layer mask, which is here under your layers, this little icon here. And this is wonderful. Rather than going with your eraser, I'll show you how much better it is to use layer mask rather than any other sort of eraser tool. So now we're gonna choose a white soft round brush with a little bit of hardness, you can see right here, and on the white with the white. So if you want those colors to be white and black, just press letter D. It will come to default colors. Now this is where lots of people get a little bit lost, and because you have your main image, you have your mask layer, and we're going to use brush, and we're also going to use clone stamp. So it's lots to take in if you haven't done that before, but don't worry, I'll guide you all the way here. So first of all, let's choose here on our mask. So you got your mask selected, you have your brush, white brush, and we're going to bring back the elements that has been lost. That's been erased too far. And it's here, and it doesn't matter if it's white here. I noticed that it's good to fill it up rather than leaving holes, because it looks very unnatural with kind of like a hole in the randomly in the center. It wouldn't look good if you have a color background, so that's why we're testing it. You might get away with a white background, but we want to prepare those files so they're going to be good with any color background. Now we're going to switch to black one and just kind of erase a little bits that are maybe too rough or a little bit too far. I think that looks fine for this sort of style. It might be a little bit here. I could be really picky and spend a long time on this, but I don't want to. So now we're going to switch on the main layer rather than the mask of that layer. And we're going to move into our clone tool. I'm using Alt. I think it's a different button in Mac. And then press where you're going to take it from. I'm letting go Alt and just brushing over. Do you see there's a little kind of hair cross where it takes from? So I have to kind of select. I'm taking it from here. I'm letting go Alt. Oh, maybe a bit too different color. A little closer. Just here. And this white bit here, I'm a little bit bothered by that. So not sampling too far away, so it still has the same sort of colors and character. Sampling and going over, sampling and going over. So once you get hang of it, it's really intuitive, very simple. You could leave those white bits if you like I said, it's a stylistic choice, but for this illustration, this pattern, I rather keep it just solid. Bit tricky where we have this line art here as well. Trying to be very careful, but that's fine. And I'm going to move back to my mask one more time with the black brush and just get rid of that white bit here. This is our tomato. We get rid of this colorful background. Now unlock that. It doesn't really matter for now because we can keep it like that. It's brilliant. So we have our first motif. Let's use the crop tool just to make it smaller so it's easier later to work with those elements with the smaller size. Just crop it in, enter. An important thing, you can leave that mask like that, or if you're really confident, apply layer mask, and it's just going to be that without the option to edit. If you want to, you can leave it with a mask on. So I just backed up, because if something that you see, oh my gosh, I need to like fix that, you can still come back and retain something or get rid of something. I'm just having a closer look. I'm using my spot healing. Oh, the wrong thing again. It's so easy. I do this all the time, getting on the wrong layer. It's just difficult to remember. And you just switch over. The best thing is if you just carry on with the same system, so you're not going to make too many mistakes, hopefully. That's our tomato ready, and I'm going to save it now, and I'm going to save where all the other files like this go. So we're going to File, Save As, and I'm going to save it as PNG, number 1, tomato, and save. So this is our first image. So again, I created a new document here. I'm going to add a couple of layers. One will be the background, the lower one, and the top one will be for our next vegetable. I'm just going to lock that color one so it's not moved about. And the next one we can do maybe this carrot, because it has a little bit more complicated leaves here, so it might be tricky. I'm just going, okay, I'm going to do that one more time with a lasso, making sure. Oh my goodness, I think I need to put my glasses on. Can't see that well. Okay, and just, they're kind of overlapping, unfortunately. But don't worry, if you take too much from the other one, you can always mask it out and just drop it into that area. The other thing you can do is remove backgrounds, see what effects that's going to give you, and that's pretty good. So either, you know, either one or the other, and it automatically created mask for you, which is fantastic. Now we're going to have a closer look. Whoopsie daisy, go too quick, it goes super close. You know what, I'm actually very close to how it should be. I wish I could show you a bit more difficult areas, but okay, there's too much white here for my liking. The other thing you can do is use a different type of brush. If you have a little more rough brush, let's take this one, and then it will give us a little bit more organic kind of feel and look. Edge, better edge, basically, a bit more rugged. Here, so I'm using my black pen, which I chose just something from the kind of more texture edge pens, a bit rough, not a smooth one. And with the black color, I'm just taking off white areas, which I think might be a bit too much. And this is probably the most laborious element from the whole process. Some people really enjoy it because it can be quite meditative doing that, and really rewarding when you see everything together. So if you really put your time and effort into this point, it will pay off. If you rush that part and then you see your pattern finished, and all of a sudden you see your elements being really not properly maybe cut out, or things missing, or things looking very sloppy, it will ruin your whole pattern, and the whole kind of exercise will be pointless, the whole process. I highly recommend taking time, making sure things look right. So here, for example, you see a tiny little hair. What I'm going to do, I'm going to switch to the layer of the carrot and use my little spot healing brush. I'm going to make it much smaller and just paint over that and let go, and it disappears. So any kind of speckles or hair or things you don't want to have in the image, if you want it very, very neat, you can do that. I don't mind occasional kind of dots. It gives a bit of a character, but I understand that it can be a choice not to have them in. Just note, okay, sorry, that's the wrong layer again. Okay, I'm on the wrong brush again. As long as you know how to kind of fix it and what you're doing, that you need to, which tool to use on which scenario, absolutely fine. Don't worry, you'll make those mistakes, it's fine. And going back to my black masking pencil brush, whatever you want to call it, it's gonna pay off to make this process. So if you're using Photoshop and you haven't got many brushes, guys, I would highly recommend visiting your Creative Cloud, and you can get brushes for free that are included in your membership, in a cloud membership. There's an amazing guy called Webster, I can't remember his first name, and he created heaps of brushes, absolutely loads and loads, and he keeps adding more. It can be a little bit overwhelming sometimes to having too many brushes, but oh my goodness, I spend a good don't know, 2 months kind of sitting and choosing and selecting and putting in the right place and testing the brushes. But you know, you don't have to Kyle Webster. You don't have to go and buy them. There's every possible option. He used to sell them a long time ago, but then he kind of started working with Adobe. I think Adobe gave him this business opportunity, and he designed brushes for them, and it's amazing. So make the most of this fantastic deal, and then you can get different edges for your masking to create that. Okay, I'm kind of getting carried away here with getting rid of too much white, maybe just here a bit. You just want this to make sense. I don't mind these because they have a bit of a different shade of green, so it looks like it's a very light green rather than white. If there's something that is very obviously white, I will take it down. So it's good to do it in stages. Once you do scanning, then you do all your elements, then you do all your kind of that part and that part, rather than doing one element at the time, placing it in the pattern. And just, it's good to do it like a chain process. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this color. I'm really surprised how well that actually worked. This just a little bit here, maybe. And it's a good idea to keep it as a, still as a, you know, to have that mask on, because then you can always come back to it. You can kind of reactivate that mask if there's something that you missed and you see in your final pattern. You go to, I'll show you later, to a smart object, and you can actually edit that bit. It's so powerful, the Photoshop, the way they let you do it. That's so much better if I do it with this brush rather than that soft one. Okay, we can just fuss over it all day, but I'm happy with that. It's quite sketchy kind of style anyway, so fine. We're gonna get rid of this layer and this white layer. It's beautiful. Beautiful. And let's just make it a little smaller wherever we can. That's good. Enter. And now we're going to save it. We're going to keep that kind of mask on. Like I said, you can always get rid of this mask and apply mask, and that's just going to leave you this illustration. But from experience, I have noticed that it's good to keep it in case you want to go back to it. I'm going to just save it as a PNG. And to the next one. So we're going to do the same thing and we're going to meet in the next part.